You've entered Bookstorm. Your favorite authors are here to dive down deep into their best-selling books. Stay tuned to brave the storm.
Welcome back to BOOKSTORM Podcast. I'm your co-host, Kristen Civiletto, and with me is Julia Rose. And we're just thrilled that you're tuning in from 105 countries and territories, all 50 states. And we know why. It's because your very favorite authors are here on the podcast. And today is no exception. We are just thrilled to welcome back to the podcast #1 New York Times bestselling author, Susan Mallery. Welcome back, Susan.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is fun.
I know we just love talking with you because, first of all, I've read many of your books, but I love that your books are the kind of book we can just settle in and we just know we're going to be drawn into the lives of these characters. And I want to tell our listeners just a little bit more about you. I know they already are familiar with you as a writer and many of your stories, but as they know, you're a #1 New York Times bestselling author. And you do write a lot of novels about things that shape women's lives. And I love this family, friendship, romance, and all the feels.
No, I was just going to say thank you. I love all the feels too.
I love Library Journal says, Mallery is the master of blending emotionally believable characters in a realistic situation. And I think readers definitely feel that because you have sold more than 40 million copies of your books worldwide. That is an incredible achievement.
Well, thank you. It's pretty exciting. And this is my entire skill set, so I need to make it work.
I love it. I was looking at your website and I was smiling just looking back at some of your books because we had talked with you previously about Summer Book Club. And again, there were characters that we all can relate to. They're making decisions that always don't make sense, but we're processing life through their eyes. And it's just so wonderful. I just absolutely adore your writing.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. I appreciate it. It was, yeah, that book was fun. And Otherwise Engaged was pretty fun. Some of them are difficult, but this was not one of the hard ones, which I'm so grateful. Because when it's one of
Yes.
the hard ones and you have to be all cheerful about it, it's like it was a nightmare to write and nobody wants to hear that. So this one was easy. This was good.
I love it. Well, you mentioned the title, and I'm going to show our listeners a picture of that cover.
Me too. Although mine is for some reason a little blurry, but yes, same thing.
Oh, awesome. And I know Julia's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on in this story. But I will say it does not disappoint. It's the kind of book you want to curl up and you want to get to know these women.
Yes, so I would love to give our readers just some background into the story that we've had the privilege of reading ahead of time. And we have this beautiful story about the powerful and sometimes problematic bond between mothers and daughters. And we also get to see how secrets can shape not just our own lives, but kind of permeate out and affect the lives around us. So first we meet Shannon, who has just gotten engaged, and she wants to tell her mom, Cindy, but she's afraid because Cindy has just gotten engaged too, and has already been hinting at a double wedding. Shannon has never been good about boundaries with her beloved mom, and she decides to keep her engagement a secret until Cindy's I do's are done. We also meet Victoria, who has never had a particularly close relationship with her mother, Ava. She lives on her own terms and amuses herself by pushing Ava's buttons. Ava loves but doesn't understand her stunt woman daughter. When a movie set mishap brings Victoria home, Ava longs to finally connect. Chance brings these 4 women together at a wedding venue where a shocking secret comes tumbling out. 24 years ago, desperate Cindy, as a teenager, chose wealthy Ava to adopt her baby, and then changed her mind at the very last second. This loss rocked Ava's world, leaving her unable to open her heart to the daughter she did adopt, Victoria. As Shannon and Victoria deal with the fallout from their decisions that their mothers had made, they wrestle with whether who they are is different than who they might have become. Okay, I tried not to include any spoilers, but do you have anything you want to add to that synopsis?
No, it's good. Makes me want to read the book. Yay.
Us too.
So earlier, offline, discussing how Kristen and I are a mother-daughter duo, and we love stories that really explore this relationship because it's beautiful, but it's also really complicated, especially as, the daughter side of things moves into adulthood and has questions and wants to understand her own life some more. I'd like to focus on Cindy and Shannon, who are a mother-daughter duo in this book. And for a very specific reason, which I won't give away, Cindy felt that she had to make Shannon's life as smooth as possible. As a result, Shannon never learned to stand on her own 2 feet. Can you maybe talk a little bit about the anxieties that mothers sometimes project onto their children? Because as well-meaning as they can be and are, it can sometimes have this unintended effect of crippling the child as an adult.
Oh, it can. I think when mothers have fears, and all mothers have fears for their children, they go one of two directions. They either inadvertently or on purpose pass on that fear to their kids, or they go the other way. I have a friend who her mother was terrified of swimming and the water, and taught her to be afraid of the water. And when she had kids, she said, I'm never going to do that. And when they were very little, signed them up for swimming. And they actually went to college on swimming scholarship. So really went the other direction. And so I do think most of us want to take a middle path. But our fears are very powerful, and it is easy to get them passed on, even though we don't mean to. And it takes a lot of effort to give your kid a fresh slate. I also think in the case of Cindy and Shannon, they're massively codependent. I'm a big believer in therapy. They really need to be in some therapy. There was not room for therapy in the book, and I don't know that it's that interesting to read about, but they are hugely codependent on each other. There's early on, Aaron, Shannon's fiance, says, you can't go to the bathroom without telling your mother. How are you going to keep your engagement a secret? Which is a very legitimate question for him to be asking. Although Shannon makes a sincere effort at it. So I think that Cindy was a very young mom. She was 18 when her daughter was born. So they grew up together. And I think they did incredibly well, given they both, well, one was a baby and one was a teenager. Nobody knew how to have this relationship be successful. So I think given what they had to go through, they did a great job, but there are consequences for the decisions that they made.
Absolutely. Your characters are incredibly relatable, not just because, they fill these roles that many people are familiar with, but I wouldn't be able to keep that a secret either. So it was interesting to read and put myself in that position of, could I? Would I even want to if that were me?
Well, and it really isn't. Why would you? Because 99% of us would be, that would be, if not our first phone call, then certainly in the top 5 phone calls we're going to make, followed by a quick visit to show off the ring. If you want to share the joy, and if you have a good relationship with your mom, which Shannon actually does, the sharing is part of the joy. But Cindy, and as we get to know Cindy pretty quickly, she's not kidding about the double wedding. And Shannon loves her mom, but that is a hard no for her. And Shannon's difficulty is her inability to create boundaries with her mother. And as an author, that's a tough road. I don't do well when I write weak characters. I don't like it. My readers don't like it. The books don't work. So I need strong women. I like them in my life, and I like them in my fiction. So Shannon was a challenge for me, and it took me a little bit to figure out how I was going to work with her, because her personality had to be that for the story to work. And then given how she grew up, it was very easy to work backwards and make her and create the background that made her the character she was. But I think for me, having her confess right up front that she's a mess, it's almost the first thing she says. I'm a complete mess. I should be stronger. I should be these things. And I think self-awareness is the beginning of healing. So rather than dealing with Shannon being a mess, the book looks at Shannon healing. And I find that a much more interesting journey.
Yeah. We also saw her through the eyes of her fiance, and he saw the strength in her that maybe she didn't, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, if we meet somebody and we're not sure, but someone we trust says, oh no, they're great, you're going to love them, then it's like you're predisposed. And Erin is just a sweetie on her worst day. And I'm not giving anything away. It's her first scene. On the very worst day of her life, he tells her he loves her and proposes. And it's like, this is the worst it's going to be. And he's like, great, sign me up. If this is as bad as it gets, honey, I'm all in. And who doesn't want to hear that from the man they love?
I love that. Well, I want to talk about the other daughter in the story, Victoria. She never really developed the emotional skills that she needed to navigate relationships. And her solution was to avoid, deep and intimate relationships and focus more on the physical, the sex aspect. I think she thought she didn't need any of these entanglements, is how she looked at a relationship. I want to ask you about what are some of those emotional skills that we need to navigate relationships? Because your characters were definitely trying to navigate them.
They were. And I love Victoria. She's, I don't want to say I want to be like her because she has serious flaws, but man, she's strong. She's so strong and so determined, except the one place she can't be brave is with her heart. And
Yeah.
I see her as not wanting relationships. It's less that she doesn't have the skills, it's more that she can't or is unwilling to open herself up. What she fears most of all is rejection, because her whole life, in some ways, she was rejected, or at least when she was young and these bonds were forming, there was an inherent rejection for reasons that probably aren't anyone's fault, but still. So I think Victoria is very capable. She just will never, she doesn't go there. She doesn't have close friends. She keeps everybody at bay except for her father. Milton, she trusts implicitly, and he has always been there for her. He's a great dad. But Victoria it's like she can't take one more heartbreak. And therefore, she keeps the world at bay, and she expresses herself physically, whether it's through the work she was in gymnastics as a kid. She was always physical, always going. I think people learn, we learn either we're auditory, visual, or kinetic, and Victoria is definitely kinetic. And then she goes into cheerleading. It is, she puts it, the athletic one, not the prancing. And now she's a stunt woman. And when she needs to, normally she would go for a jog and she can't. And so she has this energy. So she throws knives in her apartment, because sure, I know after a hard day, I get out that knife set and toss it against the wall. I mean, so who does that? But she does. So to me, Shannon is an open wound. She's just exposing her heart to anybody who wants to look at it. And Victoria's like, you are not getting close. Nobody's getting close. And sex is easy, but nobody touches her. Nobody touches the heart.
Yeah. Well, I thought even her choice of being a stunt woman, a stand-in for the real thing, was
Exactly.
almost mirroring that inability to,
Yeah.
navigate.
Yeah, she does not. And even being a writer, there is a background element. The writers are not up front. You watch a great movie. Well, okay, I say it's all about the writing, but the average person says, oh, Nicole Kidman did such a good job. Nobody thinks about everybody else who stays in the shadows but still makes it happen. And then you're right, she lives exactly in the shadows. She's always behind and not so, and not even as an understudy, because the understudy does want to become the person in the
Yes.
spotlight. This will never be the spotlight. So yeah, you're right.
So I was thinking about the fact that Ava and Victoria, although not related by blood, are very headstrong and similar in a lot of ways, which I mean made the dynamic between the whole group work as well. But it seems that Victoria was headstrong from birth, and I was hoping you could touch on the nature versus nurture theme in this story.
Oh, I think that's a really interesting question, because you're right. Ava and Victoria are very much alike, and Cindy and Shannon are very much alike. Although Cindy is much stronger than Shannon, Shannon's got to figure that all out. I think for Victoria, yes, she was born um, a strong person, and then she's naturally stubborn and headstrong. So Ava just brought that out in her. So they butted heads. And I think if Cindy had been raised by Ava, I'm sorry, if Shannon had been raised by Ava, I can't figure out if she would have become strong or she just would have been squashed like a little bug. And if Victoria, if Cindy had taken Victoria, I think Victoria could have been very different because there never would have been the emotional wound. So your question makes me think, what if their roles were reversed? How different would they be? So I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say Shannon would be crushed. And I don't know what Victoria, she would probably be ruling the world because if she didn't have that wound, she has so many natural abilities. So I think it's both. I mean, we could talk about the twin studies where twins separated at birth end up going into the same kind of career, marrying the same kind of partner, weighing the same at 45. I mean, it's just genetics are very powerful, but I think what mitigates genetics isn't just nurture, but also opportunity. And so it is fun to speculate how they would have been different. I think they got the right moms, personally. I think Victoria is where she needs to be. It wasn't fun to get where she gets, but no spoilers. It's a pretty decent ending. So, and Shannon needs to grow a pair and hopefully she'll get there.
I want to go back to something you mentioned a second ago. Victoria was working on a screenplay kind of throughout this story. And as she was getting feedback from her critique group and deeply thinking about her characters, I feel like she was doing a lot of processing about her own feelings and emotions. And I was wondering if you could touch on that a little bit because it's kind of a removed way of dealing with self introspection.
It is, and it was really fun to do because, first of all, I would like to say for the record, formatting a screenplay is really, really hard
Yep.
unless you have one of those programs. I couldn't do it. It started making me insane. I wrote up the text and I sent it to my assistant and said, go get a free version and plug it in. This is making me insane while I'm trying to write a book. But it was very fun because it's autobiographical. Most first works are relatively autobiographical, which just makes you wonder what the life was like for the lady who wrote Hunger Games. But
Yeah, right.
anyway, so yes, and it's pretty obvious when she starts talking about her work every time, because she belongs to a critique group. Every time they critique it, it feels way too personal, more so than normal, because they're talking about her. And then she's shocked when they say, we know this is you. And she's like, how could you know? It's not me. Of course it's you. So it was really fun to have her grow and change through her character. The character she was writing rather than directly through herself. So as she figured out what was wrong with her character, she could see what was wrong with herself. And I've written a lot of books. It was really nice to be able to do something I've never done before. So yay. But yeah, it was really fun. And there's a scene towards the end where her character says something she doesn't expect. And
Yes.
as a writer, this happens all the time, but she gets so mad. She stands up screaming at her computer, you take it back. And later there's another scene where Shannon's actually visiting and it's like, is your laptop in the trash? And she's like, I'm punishing it until it decides to behave. And we've all had that. I've called my agent and said, I can't believe what they did. And she's like, it's okay, I trust you. It's like, I can no longer trust them. They have betrayed me and we're not speaking.
I love it.
So,
I love that perspective. Sorry, I didn't need to cut you off. The
no.
screenplay was a favorite part of mine in the book. And towards the end, she even says, she was like, I can't just delete this. Like it's their entity and they chose to do this and take it on. And it had me laughing.
Yeah,
So
it was fun because as I said, I've been there before and it's just like, and at dinner I'll tell my husband, it's like, I can't believe they said nobody told me. And he's like, it's you. And I'm like, it's not me. It was me on page 1. It's now page 270. It's
I
not
love
me
it.
anymore.
But I love the bigger theme too. And the idea is we're still writing our stories. We can revise, we can take it in a new direction. And I thought that was such a great metaphor for a perspective on life. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the change and the ability to, if you tell yourself the same story over and over again, you're going to get where you've always gotten. But it takes courage to tell a different story or to be open to a different story.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, again, your stories have these layered characters like our lives. I mean, we have conflicting emotions and things we don't even know as we're tapping into them. And that's what your stories do. They're wonderful. I know that Julia had one last question she wanted to ask.
Oh, so we're not rushing you. We know you have, all your books and this one is about to come out, but we're hoping that maybe you could share with us anything you might have on your radar coming up, whether that's other media or something you're really excited about.
I do have a book coming out next year I believe it's in March. It's called Bookstore Diaries. And it's set in a little town, a coastal town in California, and it's this great bookstore called the Painted Lady. And the town, they've got, I don't back in the 70s, everything was about the bicentennial. And so people were
That's right.
doing time capsules. So this bookstore started out, please write what your life is like or what you see life is going to be like in 100 years. And they were going to put them in these boxes. They bought a post office got torn down and they just took all the little PO boxes and they put them in this bookstore, and people were supposed to do a time capsule, but over the years, it's been like 50 years, it's become diaries. So everybody puts their diary in and they mark them with these secret markings. Well, they accidentally get washed off. So the diaries become a whole big thing because they're secrets. So that's the premise I come up with this book. And so it's this little town. It's the bookstore owner, and her sister really she's ready to get married and have a family, and there are no men in this little town, so she's going to move. So our heroine Jax is like, I'm going to find you a man so you don't move. In the meantime, the diary thing is happening. And she has this amazing parrot named Ramone, who I have wanted to put in a book for about 10 years. So I finally found a home for Ramone, who is an African gray parrot, who is extremely literate. So thousands of book quotes from Ramone throughout the book.
Oh, awesome.
So it's just, yeah, no, it's really fun, especially
Oh,
for readers. It's like, it's all about the books from start to finish. So it's great fun. It's very funny. I love Ramone. The diaries are great. There's some real twists and turns with the diary. Hunky contractor. I think I hit all the boxes on this one. I'm very happy.
That
that's
sounds awesome. I can't wait to read it. And I love that you have another spin on secrets and how they impact, people in a dynamic, because I think that's such an interesting theme. So that
Oh, it
sounds
is. Secrets are fun. I mean, not bad ones. I don't want to know anything bad, but oh yeah,
yeah,
no, it's like gossip. Come sit next to me.
yeah. That's
I'll pour the
awesome.
wine.
I love it. And you're known too for your love of animals. So I love that Ramon has got a place in this story because many of your stories feature
I
beloved
I just
animals.
yes, no, Ramone was I did a lot of research, a lot of parrot research, and
Yeah.
my husband got very nervous and he's like, "We're not getting." And I said, "No, no, they're big and they scare me, but I loved writing about him." So
Oh,
yeah, custom diet is the secret to a happy parrot and lots
awesome.
of enrichment.
I love it.
But they live
Well,
for, I mean, they live like 80 years. So this is not a life, this is more. You need a plan. You need a plan if something happens. And it's like, I'll stick with the average pets.
There have been times that I have had to write parrots into a client's will before
Yeah.
and things that because they're going to outlive people and it's crazy.
Yes. And they don't do well when their primary person dies. So it's like a whole thing. No, no. I follow this lady. It's called the Green Bird Brigade. And she rescues birds, and some she rehomes, and some she keeps, and she has a little Quaker parrot named Augie because they have the collar, and they're blue, and she sings this song about bacon pancakes. It brings me joy every morning over my coffee.
I love it.
Yeah, we'll stick with fictional ones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Susan, I'm going to show this beautiful cover one more time for Otherwise Engaged. And
thank
we
you.
just love having you on the show. It's so much fun to talk to you. And again, you're so relatable. Your characters are relatable. So that's why people just gravitate towards your books. And I think this one will be a big hit. We're so excited for you.
Oh,
And
thank you. I appreciate it. You guys are lovely.
thank you. And I'm going to tell our listeners they can find you at your website, Susan Mallery, Mallery.com. You're all over social media. They can follow you, you engage with people. So I wish you all the best with this book. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.
All right, listeners, what a wonderful discussion with Susan Mallery. She is so much fun. You can see that humor in her stories. That's why people just love reading her books. And this one, Otherwise Engaged, we highly recommend. We hope you go out and get it. We want to tell you about some other authors that we have coming up. We think you'll love their books too. We've got Sophie Hannah, The Last Death of the Year. We've got Lynn Cullen, When We Were Brilliant. Ryan Steck and Simon Gervais, The Second Son. Liza Palmer, Young Fools. Brad Meltzer, The Viper. James Grappando, The Right to Remain. Allison Brennan, Make It Out Alive. Brooke Fast, To Cage a Wild Bird. J.A. Jance, The Girl from Devil's Lake. Daniel Silva, An Inside Job. Don Winslow, The Final Score. Laura Griffin, Innocence Road. My goodness, they are blockbusters, all of those authors. And we continue to grow every week. And we want you to keep sharing our socials. You can find us all over on Instagram, on X, on BOOKSTORMPodcast.com. And we have a YouTube site where you can see these fantastic authors. And we know why you're coming back again and again, because your favorite authors are here on Bookstorm Podcast.